Hello everyone and welcome back to the Retro Recall. I hope you're doing awesome. Today we have a sea of Windows on the bench. Over the last several decades, Microsoft has been creating desktop operating environments for both the home and business consumer markets, all the way from version 1 Windows to Windows 11 that we know today. Some were loved and some were not so loved. When I think about business operating systems, I think specifically about Windows 2000 Professional, built on NT technology, even marketing to the business side. Tells you right in the back of the box. If this is for business, this is great, this is for you. If you're home-based, switch over to Windows Millennium Edition. Windows operating systems that were built for business were known as being more robust, less home user game oriented, higher security, and of course, networking, etc., etc. When I think about that specifically, I think about, again, Windows 2000. However, before all that, there was another version of Windows, Windows NT Workstation 4. This particular version is, like I said, predecessor to Windows 2000. Was on the market for many, many years, but something that I never really got into or focused on. So I really wanted to do a video today focused on what's inside the box and what it looks like to install and go over Windows NT Workstation version 4. We have lots to do. Let's get right to it. Welcome back. Here we are 28 years later holding on to a box copy of Windows NT Workstation version 4. Windows 95 interface, Windows NT Power. 32-bit OS versus Windows 95, which was a 16-32-bit hybrid. This did support multi-core support or multi-CPU support as well as 4 gigabytes of memory. This allowed you to run more intensive applications requiring more resources, whereas Windows 95, you wouldn't really require that in that type of environment. This had limited support of DirectX. They had early versions of DirectX where Windows 95 continued on, and this had limited to no 3D capabilities, whereas Windows 95 did. Now, this came out in 1996, ended support in roughly 2002, and had some extended support right into mid to end of 2004, even when Windows 2000 was still in full play. This had service packs and driver and security updates right up to 2001, which is quite impressive that that continued on, even though Windows 2000 was still fully in the consumer market and the business market at the time. For PCs without Windows NT Workstation, so this was the full version. This would not be an upgraded version or requiring proof that you owned a previous version of Windows. I like the box art. I love the old big box operating systems. You know, what you get today is not the same experience, but I love having this, and you can see the difference. This is more of a nighttime sky where Windows 95 was more the daytime, so it's neat to see that. And then on the back here, we have the most powerful desktop operating system for business computing. Windows NT Workstation version 4 combines the ease of use of Windows 95 with the power of NT. So you can see the Windows 95 type interface here. And you can think about the users at the time when version, I believe it was 3 and 3.5 and 3.51 still had the Windows 3.1 type interface, even when home-based computers were all now running on the Windows 95 environment. So businesses were being told, hey, don't worry, this comes with that interface, that GUI that you would see here. And it talks about the different features, talks about what's new in the box. So we have Windows 95 user interface, and again, really talking about that as a selling feature. Microsoft Exchange Universal Inbox, Microsoft Internet Explorer comes with this. NetWare for client and login script support, improved multimedia support, and auto dialing for remote networking. Again, this operating system is really focused on the networking side, being reliable, being scalable, and having support for greater hardware requirements. So internet and intranet options with the included Microsoft Internet Explorer and Internet Service Provider, users can easily access the internet from their desktops. Pure web services enable creation of personal web pages and makes it easy for users to share information with corporate intranets. High performance multitasking. Users can work faster running multiple 16 and 32-bit applications with increased responsiveness. Rock solid security and stability. Win16 and Win32 and operating system functions run in separate memory spaces, which results in unprecedented reliability. Application data and operating system files can easily be protected from user error and malicious tampering, whereas a desktop environment for, say, a home-based user would not have the same level of security. So very, very important to know that, where this is built on NT. And that's what got integrated into our operating systems later in life. So our system requirements here, it says Intel 486, 25 is the minimum megahertz with 12 megabytes of memory. 16 is recommended. 110 megabytes of hard disk space, of course, a CD-ROM drive, VGA, and a Microsoft compatible mouse pointing device. That's the minimum. Now, what I found online is that the recommended was a Pentium or Pentium Pro CPU with 32 megabytes of memory or higher, of course, SVGA for your graphics, and of course 256 megabytes of space for the hard disk, just giving it more room, of course. I mean, that's minimums. I mean, at the time, hard drives would be a little more than that, of course. Let's see what is inside this beautiful box. And I got this from the seller. The seller said it was all intact. I haven't even looked inside of it yet. So we're gonna, it feels fairly heavy, so we're gonna find out what's inside together here. Okay, looks like we have some, I believe would be the startup installation discs. As you can see, it's still sealed, so it's nice to have a copy of that sealed. And it says here Windows NT operating system and setup disk 1. So it's, again, similar to the Windows 95, where you'd be able to put a disk in to boot the system to tell it to basically start installing the operating system. Okay, let's put that aside. And we have a CD here. We have Microsoft Windows NT Workstation operating system. There we are. And so there's our CD key and all that stuff, but it's still sealed, as you can see. That's pretty darn neat. Okay, and here we are. We have the Your Guide to Service and Support for Microsoft Back Office Family Products. Our support services can help you get the most out of your powerful Microsoft Back Office family products. The following are just some of the services available to you. So saying, hey, do you want additional support to the operating system and all the different products that Microsoft offers? Hey, sign up for one of these. Here's all your contact numbers, and it gives you the costs here as well if you want additional support. Want the address of the most important person at Microsoft? So do we. Us, right? They want us to send this in to register our version. So the good old snail mail. We have two prepaid cards here, one for Canada and one for the US. So it allows you to fill it out, pop in the mailbox, all prepaid. You get registered and they know everything about you at that point. Hardware compatibility list. I think this is pretty darn neat. So if I believe, yeah, so it gives a whole list of different computer models that were tested and supported with this operating system, as well as it looks like we have VGA adapters, we have networking adapters, we have power supplies. So these are all the hardware lists to show what has been tested with this operating system for compatibility. So that's pretty neat to see. And then start here, we have basics and installation of Windows NT Workstation. So obviously a walkthrough to guide you through the install of Windows NT, which is pretty neat. And yeah, just being able to go in and install the operating system, the networking features, and all that good things. And then, of course, finally, we have the introducing Microsoft Windows 95. So keep in mind, at the time, Windows 95 has been out already. So this has that newfangled operating system GUI that Windows business users aren't used to if they haven't seen this yet. So they're including this to say, hey, this is what the interface is going to look like. And it gives you all the different walk through and how to utilize the operating system and navigate the actual user interface. So I think that's pretty neat that they would include that. I just love that design, that simplistic Microsoft Windows 95 box art. I just love that. Okay, we're back all set up on the bench with our A-Open custom built PC. I believe this is a Pentium 133 or 166 with 16 megabytes of memory. So it meets the minimum requirements in terms of memory. 32 megabytes obviously would be better as it recommends, but this will do what we need it to do. And I wanted to pick an era, like I said, this has Windows 95 on it on this machine with a 1 gig hard drive, I believe it is, 1.2 gig. And it'll be perfect for testing out Windows NT 4. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is open up this good old goodie bag of discs, and we're going to see what is inside. Okay, so we have setup disk 1, so it says just our setup disk 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so it doesn't really give me other information other than disk 1, 2, and 3. And these have never been opened, so I'm hoping that these are going to work. I don't have another copy. I'll have to get them online if they don't. So I imagine just put them in to start up the operating system, setup, install. Okay, and here's our CD. I'm just going to open this up as well, very carefully. Got my trusty scalpel here. There we are. Pull off that shrink wrap of 28 plus years. There's just something refreshing about doing that. It's interesting how they made a sleeve for this versus Windows 95 had the jewel case. Okay, so there's our beautiful operating system disk, and it is in there. That's good. There we are. We have the Windows NT Workstation version 4. That's awesome. And one thing I'll mention as well is I do have the Service Pack 5 here as well from archive.org and the Windows NT Option Pack, which we'll talk about during the installation. Yeah, I think we're ready to start this up. So let's put that knife away just to make sure we're all good. And we will start it up and see what happens. We have the disk and the floppy disk drive. This is an S3 Trio 64 Plus video card as well. There's our 16 megabytes of RAM that's counting up. And it's accessing the floppy disk. Yeah, it's a Pentium 133. Windows NT setup, this famous screen that we've seen for so many years through Windows, the various versions of Windows. Please insert the disk labeled Windows NT Workstation Setup Disk 2 into Drive A and press Enter when ready. Now, knock on wood, we are 33% of the way of these disks working. So we'll hit next there and hope that these continue to operate. Okay, so it says here Microsoft Windows NT version 4, 1 system processor, 16 megabytes of memory, multi-processor kernel. And for the record, this is the very first time I have ever installed Windows NT 4. Like I said, I have never installed this. This is the first time I've been able to get a copy of it, and yeah, I'm experiencing this with everyone else as well. Okay, it says, welcome to Setup. The setup program for the Microsoft Windows NT operating system version 4 prepares Windows NT to run on your computer. To learn more about Windows NT setup, press F1. Setup NT now, press Enter. To repair damaged installation, hit R, and to quit setup, hit F3. We're going to hit press Enter because we're going to install. So setup automatically detects floppy disk controllers, standard IDE hard disks without user intervention. However, on some computers, detection of certain other mass storage devices like SCSI and CD-ROM drives can cause the computer to become unresponsive or malfunction temporarily. For this reason, you can bypass Setup's mass storage device detection and manually select SCSI adapters, CD-ROM drives, etc. I'm going to automatically detect. I'm not going to manually do it. Okay, now it's asking me for disk number 3. So we're 2 for 3 so far. Let's see if we can go 3 for 3. We'll hit Enter. So it's loading all the device drivers. And this normally I would see, say, in a Windows XP installation or Windows 2000 installation, it'd be all on the CD already, all these setup disks. So it's interesting it's copying off of there. So it did find the IDE CD-ROM drive, PCI IDE controller. So that's good. Now, this doesn't have any sort of SCSI interfaces, so I'm not worried about any of those. It's just the hard disk controller. I want to make sure that it detects that as well. Okay, Seb has recognized the following mass storage devices in your computer. It talks about the CD-ROM drive. Specify additional SCSI adapters, CD-ROM drives, or special disk controllers for use with Windows NT, including for which you have device support. Press S if you do not have any other device support disks from a mass storage manufacturer or do not want to specify additional, press Enter. Well, let's press Enter. Now it's loading it for the hard disk. So I did see that at the bottom. And now it's loading device driver, Windows NT file system, NTFS. Now it's loading the device driver for the SCSI CD-ROM drive, SCSI floppy disks, which of course we don't have any of those, but it probably is part of the installation. Now it's loading the CD-ROM file system. Okay, insert the compact disc labeled Windows NT Workstation CD-ROM into your CD-ROM drive and press Enter when ready. All right, the moment of truth. Let's make sure that it installed that driver. And this looks identical to the artwork on the Windows 95 disk, other than the printing of the operating system. Okay, we'll pop that in there. Close. We'll promptly display that. That's nice. And we'll hit Enter when ready. We'll let the CD-ROM drive seek. Okay, we'll hit Enter. It's accessing the drive. And we read all that, page down. Oh, it makes you go right to the end on this one. Okay, and we agree, F8. Okay, so standard PC displays auto detect, keyboards XT8 your enhanced keyboard, keyboard layout is US, and pointing device is our serial mouse. All that matches, yes. Okay, so what we're going to do is delete the partitions that we have installed currently on this. And we're going to hit enter to delete. And because it's a FAT32 position, L to our partition, sorry, L to delete. There we go. And it says to install Windows NT on the highlighted partition or unpartitioned space, press enter. Yes. And we're going to format it using the NTFS filing system. Okay, so our hard disk is all formatted with the NTFS file system. And it says here, setup installs Windows NT files onto your hard disk. Choose the location where you want to install these files. We'll just do the default that we want there. We'll hit enter. And setup will now examine your hard disk for corruption. In addition to basic examination, setup can perform a more exhaustive secondary examination on some drives. This can be a time-consuming operation, especially on large or very full drives. To allow setup to perform an exhaustive secondary examination of your hard disk, press enter, or to skip, we'll hit escape. I'm already fine with this disk that we have in here, so we'll hit escape. And it says, please wait while setup examines your disk. This may take several minutes. So it says checking drive C, and this is that 1.2 gigabyte platter drive we have installed. And it says, please wait while setup copies files to your hard disk. So there we are. And again, what a familiar interface. They've used this interface quite a bit over the years through the various installations of Windows operating systems. Okay, this portion of setup has been completed successfully. If there's a floppy disk inserted in drive A, remove it. So we'll do that. Also remove any compact disks from your CD-ROM drives. All right, no problem. I guess it doesn't need it right now, so we'll just take it out of there. And then it says, please enter to restart your computer. When your computer restarts, setup will continue. All right, we'll hit enter and see what happens. I love that those floppy disks still work after 28 years. And I'll say the same, even the Windows 3.1 disk that I have in that operating system box that we showed earlier in the intro still works as well. Surprise is not asking for the disk. Okay, so we have Windows NT setup. Setup is initializing, so it must have copied the operating system files over to the hard disk already into that NT folder that I created. Okay, oh no, it is asking for it. All right, so please insert the compact disk labeled NT Workstation CD-ROM, no problem, and hit OK. You can also click OK if you want files to be copied from an alternate location, such as a floppy or a network server. So if you're installing this over the network, you could. Just hit OK, and now it should look at it from the disk. There we are. So now it's copying our files. So it's a very similar background as to Windows 95 installation, but of course we have the Windows NT setup above. I just love hearing that platter drive go. Okay, Windows NT setup. Welcome to the Windows NT setup wizard, which will guide you through the rest of the setup. To continue, press next. The three parts of the setup are gathering information about your PC, installing Windows NT, and finishing setup. We're going to hit next. Preparing for installation. Again, looks pretty similar to the Windows 95 install. I mean, it does state, it's the Windows 95 interface. Just, of course, it's all Windows NT branded. Okay, so we're going to do custom just to take a look at what features we can install. We're going to go name is going to be the retro recall. Let's put TRR and the retro recall. Windows NT needs a computer name to identify your computer. Please enter a name of 15 characters or less. You must enter a name that is unique on your network. So let's go TRR, that's fine. And next, actually we'll hit back. I'm going to call it Windows NT. Windows NT. Okay. And password. We're not going to have a password for this. Emergency repair disk. Setup can create an emergency repair disk, which is a floppy disk that can be used later to repair Windows NT should it become damaged. In some cases, Windows NT can be repaired without an emergency disk. You can create an emergency repair disk at any time by running the rdisk utility. Would you like to repair, or would you like to create the disk? I'm going to hit no for now for the sake of the installation, but I would recommend you do that at the time. Okay, accessibility options, accessories, communications, games, multimedia, and Windows messaging. So very familiar stack of options here for sure. Let's take a look here. And of course, all the fancy stuff, the stuff you like, the desktop wallpaper and things like that are missing. Well, guess what? We're going to install those. Under communications, we have all those We have chat, so allows you to converse with other Windows NT users over a network. I believe I used that in Windows 2000. So we have Free Cell, Minesweeper, Pinball, and Solitaire. Absolutely. I don't care if this is business related. I want games. Multimedia. So we have we have a whole bunch of themes here. Let's install them. Let's install all the multimedia. And what do we have for Windows messaging? We have Internet Mail, Microsoft Mail, and Windows Messaging. And you know what? Let's install those as well. Why not? We have the space. We'll hit next. And it says now it's installing Windows NT networking. All right, I don't believe I have a network card actually installed on this computer. It's something obviously I'll have to do. Let's see here. I'm going to say do not connect to network at this time, but if we were to, it would be a wired or remote access network via modem. We would choose wired, obviously. It would go through an ISDN adapter or a network adapter. We don't have a network adapter installed, so we're hit do not connect at this time, and then we're going to click on finish setup. Setup is configuring your computer to run Windows NT. Okay, this is our time zone. We're going to do Atlantic Canada, and date and time should be correct. Yeah, it is, because the coin cell it's not actually a coin cell. It was the Dallas chip. I did modify that in another video that I did. So if you didn't check that out, it's an RTC. I did do a modification to it. So it says the system found the following video adapter, S3 compatible display adapter. Awesome that it's actually detecting that. And so we have 256 colors, 65,536, which is your 16-bit color, and then 32-bit color. So it's pretty cool that it's detecting the video card, no problem. And we're going to do 640 by 480 just for the sake of the video and recording. But normally I would do different resolutions. But it's really cool that it's having no problem with this so far. You have not tried these new settings successfully. Please press the test button. All right, we'll hit test. The new mode will be tested. Your graphics adapter will be set to the new mode temporarily so you can determine whether it works properly. Press OK, and then we'll wait 5 seconds. Okay, Windows NT's the boss today. It's looking good so far. Did you see the test bitmap properly? Absolutely. To save the settings you have just tested and continue with setup, press the OK button in the display properties window. We'll hit OK. It's continuing. It's awesome that it detected that hardware without an issue. I know we're not done yet, but it's usually the issues when you go install an operating system is going to be your display adapter and your network adapter and your sound card. But so far, so good. Okay, so it's continuing to copy our files. Imagine we're going to have to do a little interaction here. Probably set something up. At least you do on Windows 95. Oh, no, not so far. Setting security on system files. That's what definitely differentiates this operating system from Windows 95. Okay, Windows NT 4 has been successfully installed. Please remove disks from floppy drives, which we've done, and compact disks from CD-ROM drives, and choose Restart Computer. Okay, I have no problem removing that from the drive. We'll pop it into the sleeve right away so nothing happens to it. Perfect. And we'll hit Restart Computer. Windows NT Workstation 4 with Microsoft Internet Explorer. The product is protected by blah, blah, blah. And it shows our dates. So Control-Alt-Delete to log in. We'll hit that. No problem. And it says Administrator. I don't believe I put a password. We'll just hit Enter on that. Very Windows 95-esque. That's for sure. Welcome to Windows NT. Did you know to open a program, just click on the Start menu. Yeah, I think we've seen this before for sure. Okay, click on Start. There we are. We have Windows NT Workstation installed on the computer. Yeah, we're going to go over all this in a moment, but before I do any of that, what I want to do is I want to connect the speakers to the computer. Again, this wasn't meant for multimedia, but does have the capability. And then I'm going to work on installing the service packs as well as the options pack. So give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can get those speakers connected. We have the NT4 Service Pack 5. Let's get that installed. It's not detecting the sound card currently, but my gut is that once this is installed, the service packs, that it will start to detect the additional hardware. If not, we'll install it manually if we have to. Okay, so it's detecting the disk, and let's see what pops up on the screen. Okay, it loads up Internet Explorer. What version is this? That came with this. Internet Explorer version 2. Well, it does say Internet Explorer for Windows NT version 2, so let's assume that that's what we're going off of. Okay, so as an introduction, so the CD contains Microsoft Windows NT Service Pack 5. Service Pack 5 collects and installs latest updates for Windows NT Workstation 4, It goes on about that, talks about cumulative, which means the service pack includes the contents of all previous service packs. You do not have to install the earlier service pack, which is great. And talks about what we should read as we go, especially with the year 2000, product analyzer, etc., etc. So we're going to install Service Pack 5. It also includes a Internet Explorer 4 Service Pack 2. We'll install that after, obviously. So here we are. We'll install Service Pack 5. It says here you can install Service Pack 5 to update your Windows NT operating system from one of the following. Install Service Pack 5 for Intel-based systems or Alpha-based systems. We will do Intel-based because it is a Pentium CPU. And it says you've chosen to open the file update application. Please be aware that some of the files may contain viruses. Well, I'm hoping it does not. If you're sure it is safe, then click on open. This would be like the user account control back in the day. And look at that lovely flying window logo. I haven't seen that in years. Okay, we'll click on open. Welcome to Windows NT 4 Service Pack 5 setup. Before installing the Service Pack, we recommend that you close all other applications. It's fine. It talks about our license agreement. Yes. And backup files necessary to uninstall the Service Pack at a later time. If we want, sure, we'll let it do that. Please be patient while Service Pack Setup inspects your Windows NT configuration, prepares the necessary files, archives your existing files, then installs the new files to update Windows NT. To quit Service Pack Setup without updating your system, press Cancel Now. Now, this is pretty cool because these discs actually came in later revisions of the retail software you'd buy. So it would have a big sticker thrown on the box that said, now includes Service Pack 3, 4, 5, whatever version. And as I mentioned earlier, these service packs went all the way up to 2001. So the Service Pack 6 was the latest service pack. So Service Pack 6 went to October 27th of 1999, but Service Pack 6A, which would have had additional, little updates to that, was released about a month later. But then there was a security roll-up. They were going to call it another service pack. I think it was going to call it Service Pack 7, but instead they just called it a security roll-up, which was released in July of 2001, which I think is pretty cool that they continued to support this operating system for so long, even though Windows 2000 was completely out there at the time. And, user adoption would have been, migration would have been happening at the time. So definitely cool that they kept this secure while that was happening. Again, focused on that business market. Okay, continuing on to install the service pack. Okay, Windows NT Service Pack 4, or Windows NT 4 Service Pack 5, installation is complete. You must restart your computer for the Service Pack update to take effect. If you install any additional Windows NT components from the original Windows NT CD, then you should reinstall Service Pack 5 to ensure the new components are updated. So basically, if we do any more from the CD, pop this back in and reinstall it. But for now, we'll hit restart and let the computer do its thing. Okay, we're back, and let's see if we can verify that this has been installed using WinVer. Hit OK, and it says, sure enough, Microsoft Windows NT. Windows NT R version 4, build, and Service Pack 5. So we do have that installed now. That's awesome that that went through. Okay, we're going to remove the disk, and we will now install the option pack. Now, the option pack comes with a pile of different applications and features, more geared around the networking side, internet side, to my understanding, and this would have all been part of the Windows 2000 installation later. We're just going to install them because it's here, and we'll explore it just as part of the operating system installation. Let's go into properties though before we continue, just to customize this a bit. Yeah, what's this? Windows NT 256. Imagine it wants to set it. There we go. We'll do the Windows NT. That way we always reminded what we're running here. Okay, let's bring on the option pack. So welcome to Microsoft Windows NT4 option pack. The option pack provides enhanced web application development services for Windows NT Workstation 4. If you're setting up a simple website for your corporate work group or developing component-based applications, the Windows NT4 option pack provides a simple, flexible way for your existing Windows NT Workstation an even stronger web and application development platform. Awesome. Please make sure you read through all that stuff. Look at the old logos here. That's awesome. Okay, we'll click on install. Why not? Just to see what it installs. Read the license. Sure. Uninstall existing stuff. We didn't install anything yet. Install Windows NT Service Pack 3. We've already installed Service Pack 5. It wants us to install Internet Explorer 4. We'll do that because it probably needs to be updated from version 2 to be able to take advantage of the option pack. Okay, well, we're getting a bonus installation of Internet Explorer 4.01. Yes, we agree with the agreement. Next, we're going to do standard installation. Oh, we'll do full installation. Why not? Put everything else in that. Windows Desktop Update includes Windows Desktop Update as an optional component. This adds true web integration to your Windows experience. Yes, why not? That's something I believe Windows 98, ME, and what have you continued on with. Okay, preparing setup and Explorer 4 Service Pack 1 on your computer. Okay, we're back with the installation of Internet Explorer 4, and it installed quite a bit of web components to the NT operating system here. A lot of it reminiscent of the Windows 98 for sure, as well as some foundational stuff that went into Millennium by going through this, at least my observation. And so, yeah, it comes up Microsoft Internet Explorer 4. Welcome to 4.0. Click a link or choose close. Take a tour, explore some channels, subscribe and win. We're going to close for now. We don't need to show it next time either. But one thing I will say is that I noticed that, it only has 16 megabytes of memory installed in this computer. The more I'm using the computer, the more I'm installing on it. I mean, definitely something would be worthwhile to upgrade to the 32 megabytes of memory as it recommends. The other thing I did while I was installing the Internet Explorer 4 was install the ESS audio driver. We're continuing on with the NT4 option pack. So I'm clicking on that now because I did install as it asked Internet Explorer 4. We're going to run the setup. Okay, Windows NT 4 Option Pack. Windows NT 4 Option Pack provides enhanced web and application development services. So personal web server, transaction server, data access components, message queue server client, internet connection services for RAS, as well as administration developer components. Okay, we're at the end of the installation. It says Microsoft Windows NT Option Pack. Thanks for choosing Microsoft software. We'll click on Finish to Setup. And it probably asked me to reset or restart the computer once it's been finalized here. Setup is finalizing setting. Please wait. You must restart your computer before the new settings will take effect. Do you want to restart now? Yes. You heard the startup sound there? Go to Windows NT Workstation 4 Startup. And we'll close this because I believe this is the installation for that software. Okay, so we have the option pack installed. As much as it will let us anyway without the TCP/IP components installed. I'll get all that installed later due to the installation of a network card when I decide to utilize this on a local network. But yeah, so I mean, we have the operating system now installed. We've installed the core system, plus of course the option pack and Service Pack 5. Now I mentioned there are other service packs. That's just the one that I did obtain. Now before we go any further, I do want to talk about the audio driver. So going into control panel, we'll go over this in a minute just because it is a slightly different control panel than one that would be in Windows 95. But essentially, normally in Windows 95, you go into the control panel, you go to either your add or remove hardware, which you don't see here, or you would go into your system and click on device manager, and we don't have that here either. I'll just show you by clicking on it here to show everybody. Yeah, you can see there's no device manager. In order to install this, you need to go into multimedia. So this is where, where I'm saying, hey, I want to see what the multimedia is, and you can click on devices. Under devices, you get a list of various devices that are, installed on your computer, which it installed, but at the time there was nothing listed here. It showed the actual devices, but didn't show anything underneath it. So you go in, click on add, and then under here I had to click on unlisted or updated driver, and then click on OK, and then I had to direct it to this disk. And it wasn't just this disk. There's a special folder. It's not even listed here on the printed here on the disk, but it was for NT, and it said NT 3.5, which I implied, Windows 3 or NT version 3.5. But I was able to install it. Now, it does have default drivers, say, Sound Blaster 16, which is very common, Sound Blaster Auth32, etc. It does have the, more common drivers that you can install, but I was able to get the drivers installed using the floppy disk, using the Windows NT drivers themselves. So as a result, as you can see, it did install all these drivers that weren't there before. All these weren't part of this. So once I did that, of course, the volume icon shows up next to the clock and the computer restarted. The other thing you'll notice here is it looks like a website page. You know, it has the link to the various websites. This is a feature that it installed as part of the option pack, the Internet Explorer 4 Service Pack 2 install. And yeah, it's just interesting to see that it installed that this site. And like I said, normally I only see that in a later version of Windows 98, I believe. Keep me honest in the comments. I think it's 98 that has the interface like this, and then later carries into Windows Millennium. But to have it installed as part of the kind of like the Windows 95 look, as part of Windows NT, says something about how long they kept this going right into, like I said, Windows 2000. The first thing I want to do before I do anything else, now that I've installed the operating system and the two add-ons and the drivers, I want to check out what we have for space. Like, how much space did that take of our 1.2 gigabyte hard disk? Okay, so we have used 246 megabytes. So under recommended, it did say that you require 256 megabytes of hard disk space as recommended for the installation. And, you know, you can obviously go in and install. Now, I did choose full installations for everything that I did. You can obviously tweak the installation to say that, hey, I want to use less components. I installed everything because I wanted to see what it was as part of the experience. The same thing with the option pack. The service pack didn't give me much options, but definitely for the option pack, I did have that. But you can see here, you know, we're talking back in 96, you know, I installed, of course, later versions. So even if we fast forwarded to Service Pack 5, we're talking 1999, I believe, at that point. You know, this is how much space you're utilizing on this 1.2 gigabyte hard drive. So there we go. We have that much space utilized. Okay, let's click on the Start menu and explore. So under Programs, we have our accessories, and so we have games. So we have FreeCell, Minesweeper, Pinball, and Solitaire. Pretty standard stuff. I mean, the Pinball, I believe, was something that I'm not sure if that carried over for Windows 95. We have hyperterminals. We also have AT&T Mail, CompuServe, BBS, MCI Mail, so all the different things you would utilize at the time. We have multimedia, so we have active movie control, CD player, media player, sound recorder, and volume control. So even though it is a business class type operating system, it's neat to see some of these features added. So under our system tools, we have inbox repair tool. I believe that's for Windows Messenger before, or Windows Messaging, early version of Outlook before it became Outlook. We have calculator, calculator map, chat, clipboard, viewer, clock, dial-up networking, imaging, notepad, object packager, paint, phone dialer, and WordPad. Yeah, I mean, we've seen some of these in other operating systems, but there are a couple of new components that we haven't seen before. Under our Internet Explorer, we have Address Book, our Connection Wizard, Front Page Express, Internet Explorer, Microsoft Chat, Microsoft Net Meeting. I use that quite a bit growing up. Net Show Player, Outlook Express is installed, Real Player, and Web Publishing Wizard. I'm going to click on Real Player because I haven't seen that in a long time. I don't know what version of Real Player this is. I used Winamp and Real Player quite a bit back in the day. Winamp, obviously, for listening to music and things like that. Real Player I utilized for online, literally online radio. I thought it was so cool that you could close all this setup stuff. I thought it was so cool that you can just click on news, for example, or entertainment or audio, whatever. You could listen to live radio over the internet. I know today we take all that for granted. You go on the internet, you hit it on your cell phone, all that stuff. But back in the day, this was a pretty big deal to listen to online radio through your internet connection. Whether it was dial-up, you just go in and go into your settings, your preferences, and you could select the actual type of connection you had. Whether you're going to do a modem, 56K modem, so it would tweak the bit rate that you were listening to at the time. And I thought that was pretty cool. And the fact that they're including this as part of the operating system, or I think it might have actually installed it as part of that Internet Explorer roll-up there. Okay, and Web Publishing Wizard, which of course back in the day was pretty awesome, being able to create your own website and then publish it to the web. that was, like I said, the Wild West of computing back in the early days, and that was definitely a fun thing to do. Under startup, we have nothing right now. Obviously, if you populate that, it loads applications as part of the startup process of your system. We have our command prompt. This wasn't very DOS focused, this operating system, from what I understand. I mean, that's the Win 9X side of the business. As we know, as we went into Windows 2000 and later in life, the DOS side of business kind of fell off, and we kept more of the operating system. Windows NT Explorer, which is the same as just Windows Explorer, allows you to view, your C drive, your various different drives, your different folder structures and things like that. They call it Windows NT Explorer, but it is Windows Explorer. Administrative tools, we have a backup. So remember, this is in a business environment running in a government office or a school board or something along those lines. You have your disk administrator. Disk administrator has determined that this is the first time disk administrator has been run or that one or more disks have been added to your computer. System configuration will now be updated. It says no signature found on disk 0. Writing a signature is a safe operation and will affect your ability to access this disk from operating systems such as DOS. If you choose not to write a signature, the disk will be marked offline and will be inaccessible to the Windows NT Disk Administrator program. Do you wish to write signature? Sure, we'll hit yes. We'll let it write its signature. So yeah, Disk Administrator. This is just like a very early version of what we have today in our operating system to create hard disks and add new hard disks and partitions within a drive. I think this is pretty awesome. I used Partition Magic back in the day. That was the operating system, or the software that I had used. But it's neat to see this in here as part of the operating system. I think that's pretty cool. And again, I don't think that's part of Windows 95. This is a feature obviously added to Windows NT. Keep me honest in the comments. We have Event Viewer for any sort of issues with the operating system. You're able to go in and troubleshoot. Performance Monitor. So is this like a task manager, or does this give you more? Yeah, okay, it looks like this gives you more. Let's see here, processor time. Sure, we'll add that. Okay, that's our processor. I don't know if that's our load. Yeah, so as soon as I clicked on the start menu, our processor went up in use. So right now it's just calculating and monitoring the processor. I imagine you can go in here and turn on various features. So that's our processor. Let's go down to disk activity, possibly. Is it physical disk? Maybe our memory. Let's take a look at our memory. And what counter do we want to monitor as part of our memory? Percent committed, maybe? We'll hit done, and now we're showing a different color. So right now it's committing 70% of our memory at the moment we're utilizing. Now, I did say that I did find the system a bit sluggish after installing all of that software, but you can see that it's currently utilizing 70% of our resources, or close to it. I think it's 68% by the looks of things. But yeah, this is just monitoring our performance a little much, or I shouldn't say a little more in depth than say Task Manager does in Windows under Performance tab. Okay, let's continue on. We have remote access admin, so being able to access the system remotely, which is basically RDP access, which is pretty cool. And then user manager, this is where you obviously would go in and adjust your user profile. So I have administrator and guest right now, but this allows you to create a new user account, go in and create the policies and what that particular user can access on this workstation. And then Windows NT option pack. So we have transaction server, release notes, and NT option pack setup. Just some, I guess, stray installation stuff that gets installed as part of that installation. Under our favorites, we have channels. I didn't really use channels, to be honest with you. All the years I had this feature installed, but you can go on here and click on the different networks that were supporting that back in the day. That obviously disappeared through the years. Links, best of the web, channel guide, customized links, Internet Explorer news, and Internet Start. Software updates, Microsoft Internet Explorer, and welcome to Real Media. These are just all websites. This is all driven to be online when you clicked on those. And it's really nice to see that actually that was part of the NT operating system as well, or at least it was compatible. That's the file. So recent documents will be listed here. That was the file I had used to install the sound card, and of course my documents. Under settings, when we get the meat and potatoes of the operating system in terms of the setup, so we have our control panel. We're gonna go in there and just kind of explore that for a moment, because as I mentioned, it is slightly different than the Windows 95 operating system and control panel. I mean, it looks the same, has a similar feel. It screams a little bit of 98, like I said, because of the web stuff that was installed as part of Internet Explorer 4. But yeah, the control panel is slightly different. So we do have the accessibility options, add remove programs, but we have console here now instead for the MS-DOS prompt. We have date and time, devices, which is new. Under here is all the technical names for each device, and it shows that if it started, or do we want to start up on startup, we want it to disable or enable. But yeah, you have a little more control. So you can see here the CD-ROM's been started and is part of the system startup. I can also tell it not to do that through the install. So this gives you a lot more control as a power user to be able to utilize this versus like Windows 95 that doesn't give you the same level of access to these sort of things. Under our display, that's our display settings, no different than right-clicking on the desktop and clicking on properties. You'll be able to go in here and change the different resolutions. So here's our wallpaper. So I see under screensaver, we don't have anything selected, but I imagine it has, does have OpenGL support by the looks of things. So you can see that those are installed. What else is installed here? Oh, we have our star field, our traditional good old Windows 3.1 star field. I love that. We won't play around that too much, but it's neat that it has these. Obviously, our appearance we can select around, our web, so view my active desktop as a web page. We're not doing that right now, but you could. Microsoft Plus, so it says here, so you can change the icons, use large icons. From what I read earlier, they did install some of the Plus pack into this. That's, we add into the backgrounds as well as the screensavers. Under our settings, we do have True Color currently selected with 640 by 480 for the sake of doing this. If this was on a CRT, we could actually adjust some of our refresh hertz, our refresh frequency, sorry. And then also, like I said, in Windows 95, it says 256, 16-bit, and 32-bit or True Color here. But yeah, even for an S3 video card, it gives us a pretty decent option for selecting our resolution. But as I mentioned, I'm keeping it at this just for the sake of filming. We have fonts, we have internet settings, our keyboard settings, our mail. Those are all pretty standard, I believe, are all in Windows 95 as well. Microsoft Mail, Post Office, modems. We have nothing installed for modems. Our mouse settings, MSDTC. Under multimedia, we have our sound, like I said earlier. And this is pretty standard to Windows 95. The only difference is that we had to install the driver via this tab under devices versus actually going in and having to be able to install through add remove hardware. Our network, we don't have installed our ODBC connection here. PCM card, so it's neat to see this installed. Normally I'd only see this installed if it was on a portable version of Windows 95. So Windows 95 installs, understands that it's part of a laptop installation, for example, or notebook PC installation, you'd see that. Under our ports, similar thing. I mean, that was in 95. Printers was in 95. Regional settings, 95. SCSI adapters. So it's interesting seeing that here as well. We have our services that are blatantly here in the control panel, whereas you type in normally under Run, you'd go into services.msc, and then this would, of course, pop up as a result of that. But that's right in the control panel. We have our sounds. System, tape devices, of course, tape devices for our backup storage and things like that. None of that's installed in this operating system. I don't have any tape devices installed, but if you did, it's neat that it comes up right in the control panel. We have telephony, all your telephony configuration for drivers, it says here, as well as dialing properties. I believe that's similar to the regional settings. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we have a UPS icon down here for backup battery. So uninterruptible power supply is installed on. So essentially, when you have a UPS that's installed, that's more of a commercial or enterprise grade. It does have a serial port on the back of them that you're able to connect it to your computer. When you do, you can configure all of it to connect and communicate back and forth. When you connect to it, it also comes with software that you can actually monitor the UPS and how much power is left on it, how much your devices or how much power your devices are drawing from it, etc., and how much time you would have left in the event of a power outage. So it's neat that this is built right into the control panel. Yeah, I mean, in terms of an operating system, I think this is pretty neat to see. Under settings, let's see, we already looked at the control panel. Let's see what else is here. So we have a printers, taskbar and start menu, folder options, and of course our active desktop, which we have currently enabled. On our desktop, we just have our My Computer, and pretty straightforward because that's the same setup and same sort of look as Windows 95. We would have our A drive, of course, our floppy CD, printers, control panel, and dial-up networking. Outlook Express, pretty standard in Explorer, which is version 4. Network neighborhood, networking capabilities are built right into this operating system, as we know. inbox, recycle bin, and my briefcase as well. I mean, there's not much more to kind of show everybody when it comes to the operating system. I mean, the taskbar properties looks like the same as Windows 95. Let me just take a look at that task manager for a moment. So we have nothing running currently, our processes and our performance. So when we click on performance, you can see that we're using a lot of our memory in terms of our percentage. It would definitely gain bonus points here by getting our by upgrading the memory to at least 32 megabytes for sure. So this is pretty standard stuff that you'd see inside of any task manager, but again, nothing's currently running, but you can see that we do need to upgrade that memory. Okay, that's a general overview of the operating system itself. Let's play a little bit of pinball before we go to our outro. And here we are at the end of the video, and I'm absolutely ecstatic I was able to go through this full installation. Yes, Pinball had a little bit of a struggle there, but I think that has to do with the lack of memory in the system. 32 megs would definitely be very good to use. But I was really excited to also see these discs sealed, all the software sealed in the box, and they are still working. 28 years later, the media is still working, and we were able to install this operating system no problem. If these aren't archived on archive.org, let me know. I'll definitely put them up there. Just let me know down in the comments. Outside of the little bit of learning curve, installing the drivers for the sound card, everything else, once you kind of got your mind around it, everything else kind of worked. And, you know, I'm so used to, at the time, using Windows 95, but this operating system, to me, almost feels like Windows 2000 in terms of being put together. It feels robust, and it feels like it just works. And, you know, you have to use your mind a little bit as you go and navigate the different windows. Because again, when I look at this, I think Windows 95, but as I'm utilizing it, you know, my mind's going in different places and how to access certain things and do certain things. But it definitely gives you a lot more power in terms of, you know, you owning the system as a power user. And I could see why this would have been the preferred method or preferred operating system in any sort of business environment. But overall, I mean, like I said, from an operating system from 1996, arguably, you know, upgraded to 1999 with the Service Pack 5. Service packs are available right through to 2001, and support continued right through to 2004 with this operating system. I can absolutely see why this was still used in businesses right through even when Windows 2000 was available. Definitely very stable. This supports multi-processor, and it also has the ability to expand the memory much further than what Windows 95 would support. The fact that it has that, you can install this on much later hardware and still get through and still utilize this. So this had a wide range of support for many, many years. Overall, I'm very pleased with seeing this installed on this system and the experience of going through this operating system. If you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Makes a world of difference, helps the channel grow. Hit the notification button, change it to all. You'll be notified of new content such as this. Please leave a comment down below. What's your experience with Windows NT Workstation 4? Did you utilize this in your environments? What hardware were you using at the time? And what sort of application did you have this running in? I really want to hear all the comments. I respond to absolutely every one of them down below. I love the interaction on the channel. Always making new content. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.